Hello, my name is Sebastian Gerhard. In the following, I want to present my skilled paper, which deals with the Northern Irish perspective towards Brexit. First of all, I want to give you an overview of the following presentation. I will start explaining why I chose the topic Brexit. After that, I will give you some background information about why Northern Ireland is such a key element of Brexit. Then I will present the analysis of a few newspaper articles. The articles deal with the Northern Irish attitude regarding Brexit. Some of them will be pro-Brexit and some of them will be contra-Brexit. Finally, I will conclude all of my results. As Brexit has been dominating the European press, I was very concerned about Britain leaving the EU and the implications it would have on my future life, whether I would be able to study in the UK in the future or whether I would have to pay university fees or not. Furthermore, the United Kingdom and its politics is a very important component of the A-levels, and our last topic was Britain and its political structure and economy. The first thing that comes to mind about the current situation of Britain is Brexit. At the beginning of my research, I did not know much about Brexit. However, as the topic was debated in the news, I realized that Brexit has a massive impact on the British, European, and in particular, Northern Irish economy and future. I also began wondering what the British had intended with such a referendum and what they hoped their advantages would be when they leave the Union. From my researches and interests, the key question, what is the Northern Irish perspective regarding Brexit, emerged, which will be answered in the following. The word Brexit emerged, which is a combination of the words Britain and exit. The topic Brexit has been dominating the worldwide press since the referendum from June 2016, in which David Cameron, a previous Prime Minister, had promised in 2013 to hold a referendum if his party won the election in 2016, has asked the British public whether they wanted to remain a part of the EU or not. Surprisingly for the rest of Europe and devastating for David Cameron, who had campaigned in favor of the UK to remain in the EU, Britain voted to leave the EU with a percentage of 52. The EU is a group of 27 countries that operates as a cohesive economic and political bloc, which was founded in 1950s. Intentionally, it had 6 members: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. It began as the European Coal and Steel Community and then became the European Economic Community, EEC, with its early focus being a common agricultural policy. In 1973, Denmark, the Republic of Ireland, the United Kingdom, Greece, and Spain became members, which caused the first expansion. On November 1st, in 1993, the Maastricht Treaty took over and the European Union (EU) replaced the EEC. The treaty also created the euro, which was intended to be a single currency within many countries of the EU. With the UK being an island, Britain always has some or respective movement since it joined the EU in 1973. Nowadays, the European Union is the largest trade bloc in the world. Free trade among its members was one of the EU founding principles. Moreover, there are other benefits of being a member of the EU, such as making traveling easier due to the border loss control and being able to study and work in the EU. The EU also contributes to the European harmony and the unity because all nations belonging to the agreement work together for the mutual good. Nevertheless, in the eyes of Brexit supporters, the European Union also has many disadvantages. Since 2010, there has been an increase in terror-like events which have occurred on European soil that could be led to the borderless system. Another sorting argument is that the political freedom of the individual nation has decreased due to the laws the EU passes and the individual nation must obey. Additionally, during the Leave campaign, British citizens were promised hope for investments in the UK due to the saved fee on the EU budget. In conclusion, there are several reasons for the UK to stay in the EU, but there are also several reasons why the UK wanted to leave the EU. The map describes the distribution of the area which voted for Leave and Remain. In the orange-colored areas, the outcome of the referendum was Remain, and in the blue-colored areas, more than 50% of the voters voted to Leave. Each color shade of blue and orange stands for different percentages. The more intensive the color, the more voters voted for the respected side. It is noticeable that most of the orange-colored areas can be found in Scotland and Northern Ireland. In the northeast side of Northern Ireland, most of the people voted for Leave. However, near the border to the Republic of Ireland, many people voted for remaining the EU. In the following, I want to answer the question why so many people at the border voted for Remain. The border could even decide about the future of Europe. Differently to the border between England, Scotland and Wales, where the border will stay exactly the same after Brexit, Northern Ireland shares a border with the EU country, the Republic of Ireland. The big problem lies in this frontier as this will be a new external border of the European Union. European politicians are worried about how to check the goods crossing the borderline out of the European Union. A custom border could lead to troubles in this area, as over 11,600 people cross the border daily and cities would have to be divided, which would lead to similar situation as in the GDR. Additionally, history has shown that the border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland could revive a conflict, known as the Sectarian conflict, which will be explained in the following. The sectarian conflict in Northern Ireland has its root in the late 15th century, when Henry VIII became Protestant and turned his back on the Pope. The majority of Ireland remained Catholic and had difficulties recognizing the English kingdom. After a rebellion in the late 16th century, many English Protestants were sent to Ireland to spread the Protestant beliefs. They were only successful in the north of Ireland. During the Civil War, the Catholics sided with the losing side to fight against the English and for their independence. They lost the fight, and as a result, penal laws were placed on them by the Church of England. The major purpose of the laws were to undermine their religious freedom. One law was, for example, to force the Catholics to go to the weekly religious service of the Protestants. In the course of the industrialization, numerous factories were built in the north of the island, in which more and more Britons had settled. In the War of Independence, the Anglo-Irish Treaty was put into practice, which divided Ireland into Northern Ireland, mostly by Protestants, and then the Republic of Ireland in the south, inhabited mostly by Catholics. But there was an amount of people who were not pleased with the treaty. Out of this, the terrorist group IRA, Irish Republic Army, started to fight against it in 1923, which caused an overall tension and segregation between the two religions. Due to the segregation, the IRA also fought in England to cause turmoil. They, for example, failed to shoot the Prime Minister. The violence got so intense, and the period called the Troubles began. In the meantime, the IRA got more and more support from the Catholic population, who believed the IRA would be more on their side. Throughout the conflict, some no-go regions were established by the IRA in which Protestants were not welcome. Considering them illegal, the British government wanted the IRA to go. Operation Mortarman would include 27,000 soldiers and many tanks who forcefully went into the no-go areas in Belfast and took them down. There was a lot of turmoil and many attempts to end the violence. The conflict finally ended with the Good Friday Agreement in April 1998. Among other things, it agreed that the Irish and Northern Irish authorities work together and that the combat troops would agree to disarm. Additionally, Northern Irish people had the opportunity to apply for an Irish and an English passport, and many prisoners of the Troubles were released so peace could start. Regarding Brexit, an extremely important component of the Good Friday Agreement is the possibility of the reunification with the Republic of Ireland. Another major component are the open borders between Northern Ireland and Ireland. In the following, I want to just again summarize all the gathered informations. Due to various reasons, for example saving lots of fees, the British government absolutely wants to exit the EU, but also Northern Ireland to remain a part of Britain to prevent an economical recession. However, the Good Friday Agreement, which is a treaty responsible for peace in the region, intends open borders on the island. On the other side, the EU Parliament wants to have borders between every non-EU country, in our case Northern Ireland, and every EU country, the Republic of Ireland, to have full control who and what enters the EU. Out of these reasons, it's extremely complicated to get the Brexit through, as every side, Britain, the island and the EU, cannot be fully satisfied. Additionally, history has shown how bad a border between two very close countries can be and which effect such a division can have. In the next part, I want to explain something about the current Brexit situation. So Britain left the EU at the end of January. Many difficult questions, like how the border could look like, have not been answered and have to be answered during the transition period. The transition period is the 11-month period in which new trade deals will have to be made. However, the transition period might be extended due to Corona. The current deal contains several points regarding Northern Ireland. It states that although Northern Ireland will stay within UK's custom union and benefits from trade deals with countries such as the US, it will still have to follow EU rules on agricultural and manufactural goods, which the rest of the UK doesn't have to follow. Only if it can be proven that the goods imported to Northern Ireland from Great Britain are going to stay in Northern Ireland and will not touch EU territory, the goods do not have to be assimilated to EU standards. However, many Unionists, so Protestants, are very unhappy about the current deal and feel betrayed. Now I want to come to the second part of my skilled paper. Having gathered a lot of background information on Brexit, I want to analyze 4 newspaper articles in order to show the different perspective of the Northern Irish people on the issue. As 55.8% of the people in Northern Ireland voted against Brexit, it was very difficult to find pro-Brexit articles. The chosen articles are from different times during the development of Brexit, in order to examine the Northern Irish perspective on Brexit from different point of views. As I don't want to bore you, I want to show you a fragment of my analysis of a Contra Brexit article. The article dates from the beginning of Brexit and was written one day after the Brexit referendum in June 2016. The author's article is meant to make readers aware of the challenges both the UK and the Irish government have to face, and wants to criticize the decision of the United Kingdom leaving the European Union by listing various consequences, and wants to warn his reader of the growing populist movement across Europe. Moreover, he states his political opinion and wants to convince other people to share his critical opinion towards Brexit. Some examples of the author's critical point of view is shown when he highly criticizes the British government as not competent enough, or making use of a comparison to compare the Brexit to an outbreak of war. In this part, I want to present my results of my analyses of the 3 contra-Brexit articles. Roughly, it can be said that all authors have a negative perspective towards Brexit and the British policy. All authors refused the current Brexit deal and present Ireland as a victim. It is clear that the main focus of the articles is to persuade the readership. Furthermore, for some authors, the only solution is the reunification of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. Now I want to present my results of the analysis of the rather pro-Brexit article. The newspaper article Drawn of a New Era as Brexit Gets Done, which was published the next day after the Brexit in Belfast, an area in which many people voted to leave the EU, thematized the immediate and long-term consequences of Brexit and is meant to make the reader aware of the profits and challenges. He says Brexit takes Northern Ireland forward and will bring the country together. He also says that the relationship with the EU has been problematic and is happy that Brexit will end the uncomfortable ties to Brussels, and even compares the EU to a prison. However, also the pro-Brexit author is very unhappy about the current deal and sarcastically calls it a wonderful Brexit deal. Concluding, it can be said that the author tries to be objective and shows all sides of the Brexit, although the title seems as if he was rather in favor of the Brexit. In the end of the presentation, I will conclude all the important informations of the Brexit. It is really important to understand that all parties in Northern Ireland are unhappy with the current deal because they fear that Brexit endangers stability and peace on the island. Additionally, due to the different sides of the Brexit, Britain, the EU and Ireland, the topic is very complex and the problem has only been postponed. There is still no real solution. Brexit is regarded as a threat. Some people, mainly Catholics, see in the Brexit a chance for reunification. Unionists, mainly Protestants, feel betrayed because Northern Ireland now has a different status than the rest of the UK. It is really important to know that the social disparities between Catholics and Protestants is still present, and many Protestants are strongly identified with the UK and don't want to give up their privileges. Some Catholics feel discriminated against when it comes to jobs and other opportunities in life. However, both the Catholics and also Protestants in Northern Ireland are feared of a period like the Troubles. Now that we have reached the end of the presentation, I want to show what I personally learned during the development of the skilled paper. I was really shocked to see that a religious conflict in Europe has ended only 22 years ago and might start any time, even though both parties are Christians. When you normally think of religious conflicts, you think it's something far away. I understood that actually the problem is not religion as such, but discrimination against people just because they belong to a different religion. Finally, I understood more of the value of the EU as a guarantor for peace and stability. I hope that people in Germany will value the EU in spite of its weakness and the EU will not fall apart. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and learned a bit about the Brexit issue. Thank you for your attention.